A new perspective on stone soup. So when I was talking to my nephew today, reminding me when a time I made stone soup for them. I said about the three soldiers, and I wasn't clear. So I guess there's a new version of stone soup out. And I think what's really interesting to me is how it sharpens the focus on what the men really were. The man in the story who created stone soup, what his skills were, what he brought to the villagers and to the world. So this one is about three soldiers, and you have the background of a war, and the soldiers coming through, and the villagers all know soldiers want food. And the story puts it very nicely, they're hungry, but basically we know soldiers plunder, right, and pillage. That's what they do. So they all hid their food. And they said no, and they told these good stories of why they don't have food. Soldiers just wanted some food, they're hungry, they hadn't eaten for days. But they didn't rob them. They instead turned to stone soup. To this idea that from a stone, you could create all this marvelous, delicious food, which doesn't seem possible. So talk about con men, right? If we think about the soldiers, or the guy in the story with the stone in his backpack, as con men, they are basically con men, right? But the thing is, you have villagers who are stingy, villagers who are poor, villagers who aren't having a very good time, and these people somehow bring them together. Somehow make it so everybody has a festivities, right? And I think that's the idea of middlemen or connectors. See, these guys technically had food. These guys technically could be happy. They could eat. But they felt poor, they felt unhappy. They were stingy. And they learned a lesson of how generosity helps. And they didn't even know they were being generous. They just wanted to contribute to this marvelous feast that ends up being stone soup. For those of you who don't know the story, the idea is that the soldiers came to a village. Nobody wanted to give them any food. Nobody welcomed them. But everybody's very curious to see what they're going to do with this stone. How are they going to make soup? They're very happy to provide them with a pot, a huge cauldron, water, the fire to boil it. And the villagers are standing there watching, a captive audience, if you will. And then the soldiers, or the man in the other story, would say, it really would be delicious if we had some carrots. But we don't have any carrots, so let's not talk about such things. And then the lady who has carrots says, wait a minute, I have carrots. And she goes and grabs them. And it goes on that way till all the ingredients for the soup are there. And in the version I just read, at the end they're like, wow, if only we had some beef. Now that would be a feast. And then, people got beef. And then it's like, wow, if only we had a nice table setting, right? Then that would be a meal fit for the king. And we should know because we had a meal with the king. And people are like, wow, the king. I mean, these are villagers. I mean, in this book they call them peasants. They're peasants, really. They're just people who are poor, who work on the field, who don't really have much to do with the king, if at all. And yet here you're offering them a chance at greatness, right? I mean, if you think about con artists, right? The beauty is that they make you happy. They make you feel like you're doing something. You're going to achieve this or that, right? The people who sell snake oil, I know you've struggled with this for years. Nobody has been able to fix it. But if you take this, you're going to get better, right? Or Jack and the Beanstalk. These beans are going to change your life. It's the possibility. They sell them a dream. Whether or not it's true isn't their matter. And if you look at our society, there's so many people selling dreams out there. And some of them are acceptable, supposedly at least to most people. They sell you the dream of going to college. I heard Bank of America give me an ad the other day about these people. The only problem with you is that you look to the future, and that's why you want to buy a house. And we're here to help you out with $10,000 for your down payment. It's like, I don't know what market this was supposed to be. I mean, I'm in California, so $10,000 is nothing, basically. Anyways, but the thing is, these people are allowed to dream. You're allowed to go to college, take out $500,000 because you're a dreamer and you're striving towards a goal. But if you're going to spend all your money on trying to win the lottery, you're just foolish and gambling. A stupid person, an idiot, right? What is the difference between a scam artist and a con artist, right? I mean, you look at these scam artists, they talk about the Nigerian prince scam, but there's many other scams that are more successful, I'd say, and that's the ones where you have a relationship and this person needs money. And they're never really gonna come and marry you, but you always think that. Is that any different than people who chase another person for years on end, not knowing? I have a friend who recently got married. He's been chasing this girl for who knows how many years, 5+, just holding out. Was that a false dream? Was that basically a stupid idea? The story of Sun Soup is about people who enabled villagers to dream, to enjoy themselves. I would say they fulfilled their promise of delivering them wonderful soup from a stone. And you may say, well, the villagers contributed. I would say, yeah. But the villagers wouldn't have contributed if the soldiers or the man wasn't there. It's only because the people were there, the soldiers or the person, and they brought the villagers all together. They were enabled them to be generous, to give, to contribute to their village, and to have a feast at the very end, to fulfill their dreams, to fulfill their promise of making a wonderful meal just from a few stones.